What's up, YouTube? So this is the guide for getting crafting materials, specifically arcane dust, veil crystals, reusable parts. Not really death breath. You do get a few, but that's not really what it's for. So, for example, right now I have almost no arcane dust. I have almost none of everything, but this would be a way to just get a ton of reusable parts in a short amount of time, real quick. It's easy, and then you just convert them in the cube over to whatever you want. You can convert them to dust or crystals, and you can go back and forth with all the materials, and it's an even trade. It costs one breath to do it, but for that, one breath, you can take reusable parts, which if you salvage a white or a gray item, you get 9 of, and make that an even trade into dust or crystals. The dust is 3 or 4, I think 3, from a blue, and veil crystal when you salvage is only 1 from a yellow. So, the short is we're going to go to Act 5, Battlefields of Eternity, and then after that's done, we're going to run through Aurochs Manor real quick. There's a spot where it's a couple. There's spots you can go in Halls of Agony in Act 1, but I don't really get a lot from those when I do it. It's good, but I get a lot more out of Battlefields of Eternity. And then the Aurochs Manor one is just guaranteed quick little spot with a bunch. So I like doing both of those and then leaving the game, starting a new game, repeat. If you just do the Aurochs Manor, you waste a lot of time with the leaving and joining new games. The Battlefields Eternity, you can just run over and over, but you might as well take a second out to do the Aurochs. Really maximize the amount of parts and waste as little time as possible. So the first thing is your build. You want to be as quick as you can for traveling, and with the Torment, you're going to lower it to as low as you can one-shot everything, and elites and champs maybe two-shot, but you get the point. You want to just be able to run through, not caring, obliterate everything. So I took my fastest build that I already had, all set up. It's my Veers, mainly just because I can teleport indefinitely for free, which makes it perfect for travel, and I spin around with a little ray and do a bunch of damage there. So then I just tweaked that where I threw on Aetherwalker, right, so I could just teleport in between my Archon indefinitely, and I changed teleport rune to be Wormhole because there's no cooldown on the second one, whereas normally there's a split-second cooldown. So just really, and I switched my one of the generator things to Spender to Arcane Frozen Orb, just because as good as Blizzard is, this I think is going to be the best for clearing the environment. You want to break all the little urns and all the random little crap on the wall. You want to break everything, because a lot of times you just break it, nothing happens. But then sometimes you'll break it and it'll drop a white or a gray, and as long as it doesn't really take you a lot to break it, then it's definitely worth it. Since you're breaking it anyway, I should be using the Orcharian Arm Guards, but I don't have them because I'm a silly goose. But those would be a really nice addition too. Once you have your skills and everything all set up, we have so many different armory slots now. I just went to the second tab and just saved it so I don't have to keep messing with it whenever I want to get parts, because I end up doing this a lot. I can run through the parts like crazy. And this is just the only character I have on hardcore, and it's seasonal. I started the season really late, blah blah blah, so I've been just drilling through the parts like nuts. As you can tell, I have pretty much none. So now that that's all the way, we're going to get into the fun part. So when you go in, obviously, do your buffs or whatever you gotta do to get it started. And again, since you want to be in the lowest difficulty that you can still just one-shot the elites and champs, if you can get Nems on, Nemesis Bracers, that's nice too, because there's usually a pylon in here. I don't think I've ever not seen a pylon spawn. So that's nice. And I pick up the blues and the yellows too, even though they take up space in your inventory and they're only worth 1 or 3 or whatever. It's still nice. You might as well just pick them up, because then you're going to use them in the cube when you're done to switch your parts around to whatever ones you want. Unless you just straight up want reusable parts. You don't care about the white and blues. Like, if that's what you're low on, specifically. But even then, pick up the whites and blues anyway. It only takes a split second to go to town and salvage, and you might as well. So, what I do with the map is I pretty much just start off and I just pick a side, right or left, whatever, and I just hug it. I usually just, since this is going this way, my instinct is just hug all the way up north, which I did. It was dead end, that's fine. We come down and around here. And I'm just going to be kind of hugging aside. The goal is to really do a full circle. And then when you get to the end of the circle, if you notice like some gray fog in the middle, just run and check that real quick. It's probably easier to just keep doing it. Ah, my fingers. Yeah, so just notice that while I'm doing it, I'm spinning around to break like all the little urns, and I'm moving my mouse around the screen a lot to see those loose stones, because a lot of times when you're running through it real quick, you won't notice the loose stones on the ground, which is fine. It's not like you're ruining the run if you don't click them, but I like clicking everything because, I mean, that's what you're here for, is crappy little whites and blues. I mean, whites and grays. So you might as well. And you can see I don't really care about actually killing the monsters. I mean, it's fun, but I'm mainly just spinning around to make sure I'm breaking all the stuff, all the environment stuff. Oh. And always go all the way into a corner, make sure like you can see in here, because a lot of times in those corners there will be one of the armor racks. Oh, there's our shrine, so we click that, boom, we get a breath. And so I'm doing this in T6. I mean, you could do it in normal mode, and it's still pretty much the same end result. The only difference is the highest difficulty that you can still just zip through one shot and everything, with whatever speed build that you choose to set up. Like maybe normally can farm T13 super fast, no problem. But this like crazy high mobility build that you set up for just doing this can only actually get through like T3 for whatever reason. That's fine, just run it on T3. As long as you can get through it really quick. The difficulty only really matters for the death breath that the champs and elites that you're killing give you. Which, I mean, it's not really what you're here for. Obviously, you'd be doing rifts and do like something with a sage set if you were interested in breath. But if I see an elite or a champ, I'm gonna kill it anyway. And I mean, when you do the converting the parts, you convert 100 at a time for one breath. So if you get 1 or 2 breaths while you're doing the run, then it just makes the whole conversion free. It's not like, oh, now I'm, you know, using breath on it. It's all in the run. Everything you need to do this is in this place. And again, don't focus on the actual enemies. Like, sure, aside from the elites and the champs, sure, enemies do drop whites and blues and all that jazz, but it's not worth taking. You gotta be time efficient. So like right now I'm done. I'm really close to this giant fog in the center, so I'm gonna go check that because it probably has some stuff I missed, especially since I haven't had to go to town yet. Usually I'm full by now. But, oh, here we go. Did I just get a yellow out of that? That's weird, it's not supposed to happen. Apparently I did an event. Sure. Clicking the loose stones, there's a blue, nice. And blues aren't bad either. You get, I think it's 3, we'll know in a second, but you get some arcane dust. So there's always an event here, usually around like some type of a center area. I typically don't look at it. I just did it for the sake of video, but every time I look at it, there's no armor stuff, no armor racks that you could get your whites from, so I kind of don't bother a lot of the time now. Okay, now I'm full. I think the run's over though. Usually I'll just go to town, scrap real quick, and then come back. But this was actually just a really shoddy run, so I'm just gonna do this. Yeah, usually I fill up and then have to come back. But you'll see. So yellows, you get 9. The blues, 3 blues is 10. So whatever math that is. But now the grays and the whites, boom, 125. And that's 125 of any material you want. You could leave them as parts if that's what you need. You can make it 125 arcane dust, veil crystal, etc. And I forgot to actually, usually I'll keep the blues and the yellows and then just use them right in the cube, but obviously I messed that up. So the next thing is the Aurochs Manor Courtyard in Act 1. We're going to go there. And this, you just hug, think about like bottom right. Just keep hugging south and then, I guess, southeast. Let's see if any of these guys give me a blue real quick because I messed up and I need a blue. They do not. Alright, whatever. But yeah, it's this manor room right here. And just click all over these walls. And boom. Oh, there was 6 that time. Last time I did this, I only got 5. But yeah, that's it. The run's over. So you just leave the game, start a new one. And if you're not familiar for whatever reason with what you actually do in the cube, I'm gonna forge for this. Don't ever forge. You don't actually want to forge to do this. That's counterproductive, but you just pick up yellows and blues. But just for an example, because I accidentally salvaged them, I'm gonna forge one. You go to pages 7, 8, 9? Yeah, 7, 8, and 9. So what the icon you see up here is what you use, and you hit fill, and you can put in the other 2 opposites. So for example, if I do this one, right, I hit fill. If I put in a white item and I hit transmute, it's going to give me reusable parts. If I put in a yellow item and hit transmute, it's going to give me veil crystals. So I don't want to do these, but we want to do page 7 because that's the reusable parts that we just farmed a bunch of. And then we're going to throw in a yellow. I should be doing a blue, but you get the point. You hit transmute and that's it. It takes away 100 of your reusable parts and gives you 100 veil crystals. And it only costs 1 breath and whatever time it takes to farm all that up. That's it. That's really the whole thing in a nutshell. Hopefully this helps some people who are getting really aggravated with their reusable parts or just the other materials. You want to switch them back and forth. But yeah, I've been using it a bunch, and I like it. Just figured I'd share. Alright, that's it. Have fun.